we talk about the corporate debt restructuring regime or restructuring under the insolvency regime, there are some far-reaching changes which have been made in the IBC code by the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Amendment Act of 2019. With the objective of providing greater clarity on the permissibility of corporate restructuring schemes, which is pursuant to a resolution plan. It upholds the supremacy of financial creditors regarding the distribution of funds proposed by the resolution applicant, and it clarifies the applicability of the resolution plan on all statutory authorities. So by this amendment of 2019, the government added an explanation to the definition of the term resolution plan to clarify resolution plan that would include provisions for restructuring. So section 5 subsection 26 is provided. I mean, this is the definition that has been provided is resolution plan means a plan proposed by resolution applicant for insolvency resolution of the corporate debtor as a going concern in accordance with part 2. So this is the definition which has been provided for, and then similarly the IBPI also via a notification inserted subclause BA in regulation 37 of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India Insolvency Resolution Process for Corporate Persons 2016 regulation. So even before this amendment was inserted in the code, the provisions for restructuring of the entities in the resolution plan were allowed by the adjudicating authority, which is the NCLT. So in one of the cases of Edelweiss Asset Reconstruction Company versus Synergies Dure Automotive Limited, before the Honorable NCLAT in the company appeal, I think 169 to 173 of 2017, the appellant challenged that merger and amalgamation of the companies cannot be proposed in the resolution plan. And the resolution plan proposed by the Synergy Castings Limited, which was the company for Synergy Dure Automotive Limited, contemplated the merger of Synergy Dure Automotive Limited with Synergy Castings Limited. And it was upheld by the NCLT Hyderabad. The resolution plan approved by the NCLT Hyderabad was challenged on the ground that it was violative of clause E of subsection 2 of section 30 of the code and section 230 to 232 of the Companies Act 2013. So the tribunal held that the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code is a code by itself, and section 238, which provides for overriding effect of it over the provisions of the other acts, if any, of the provisions of an act is in conflict with the provision of INB Act. So therefore, the arguments of the appellant that the merger and amalgamation of the companies cannot be proposed in the resolution plan or such proposal is violative of clause E of subsection 2 of section 30 is fit to be rejected. The other issue which came into discussion by the Honorable Tribunal was with respect to interference of courts in voluntary arrangements to assess fairness. So the principle behind the vertical equity is enshrined in section 30 subsection 2b of the code. So if we look at section 30 subsection 2b as amended by the 2019 amendment, it requires that every resolution plan must provide for the payment of debts of operational creditors in such a manner as may be specified by the board, which shall not be less than the amount to be paid to such creditor in the event of a liquidation of the corporate debtor under section 53, or the amount that would have been paid to such creditors if the amount to be distributed under the resolution plan had been distributed in accordance with the order in priority in subsection 1 of section 53, whichever is higher. So the NCLAT found this position to be discriminatory in the case of Binani Industries versus Bank of Baroda. There, the NCLAT laid down the principles with respect to taking into account while evaluating a resolution plan that the liabilities of all creditors who are not part of committee of creditors must also be met in the resolution. It also, in fact, gave a finding that the financial creditors can modify the terms of existing liabilities, while other creditors cannot take risk of postponing payment for better future prospects. So that is, the financial creditors can take haircut and can take their dues in future, while the operational creditors need to be paid immediately. The other finding was that a creditor cannot maximize his own interest in view of the moratorium. So if one type of credit is given preferential treatment, the other type of credit will disappear from market. So this will again be against the whole objective of promoting the availability of credit, which is against the essence of INB code, which aims to balance the interest of all stakeholders, and it does not maximize the value only for financial creditors. So the dues of creditors of operational creditors must get at least similar treatment as compared to the dues of the financial creditors. Now, this position was again enforced in the case of Standard Chartered Bank versus Satish Kumar Gupta, where the NCLAT had observed that though they had noticed a huge discrimination made by the Committee of Creditors in distribution of the proposed amount to the operational creditors, qua the financial creditors, the majority of the financial creditors have been allowed almost about, in that case, what had happened is that majority of financial creditors had been allowed about 99.19% of their claim amount, whereas 0% was provided for in favor of the operational creditors. So such distribution was not only considered to be discriminatory, but it was also considered to be arbitrary. The NCLAT also held that, in fact, the section 30, subsection 2, subclause B of the code mandates that the resolution plan must provide for the payment of the debts of operational creditors in such manner as is prescribed by the board, which shall not be less than the amount to be paid to the operational creditors in the event of a liquidation of the corporate debtor under section 53. This was something which was critically important to have as an observation in order to ensure the safety of the operational creditors who did not have a place in the committee of creditors. So what it meant? It meant that the operational creditors should not be paid less than the amount of the corporate debtor, amount that they could have received in the event of a liquidation out of the assets of the corporate debtor. So it does not mean that they should not be provided the amount more than the amount they could have received in the event of a liquidation, which otherwise amount to a discrimination. So the code has defined the resolution plan as a plan for insolvency resolution of a corporate debtor as a going concern. And that is the whole essence of the entire IBC code. And if we look at the regulation 37 of the CIRP regulation, it permits restructuring of a corporate debtor by way of merger or consolidation or sale or transfer of assets of the corporate debtor, which is pursuant to a resolution plan. So, but if the Amendment Act also provides that a resolution plan may also propose restructuring of the corporate debtor, including by way of merger, amalgamation, demerger, thereby clearing all doubts on the possibility of a restructuring of the corporate debtor pursuant to a resolution plan. And if we look at Section 230 of the Companies Act, it also provides for a scheme of corporate debt restructuring, which means a scheme which seeks to restructure or vary the debt obligation of a company towards its creditors.